Let's talk about AWS regions today. So what is a region? So a region is something where Amazon's physical infrastructure is located, like the data center, the servers, and the power system to manage the servers, and the coolant systems to manage these servers, everything like the physical hardware. So that's basically a region is. So a region is something where Amazon's physical infrastructure is located. So the map you are seeing on the screen is where the AWS regions are across the globe. So Amazon has got a different terminology, like to call an area to be a region, it should have at least 2 or more zones, right? So to call something as a region, let's say London as an AWS region, it should have at least 2 or more zones. So what is a zone? So a zone is something which has got 2 or more data centers. So let me show you something. So if you look at this, a region is something which has got 2 or more zones, and a zone is something which has got 2 or more data centers, right? So you can also notice that there are 2 other different things which are on this picture, like 250 kilometers and 100 kilometers. So you might ask, what are they? So Amazon has got a rule, like each zone should be physically separated by at least 250 kilometers, and each data center within a zone should be physically separated by at least 100 kilometers. So you may ask why. So it's for the security and maintenance of these physical infrastructure. Let's say there is a natural calamity. Let's say there are floods in London. There is an earthquake in Iraq. Let's say America goes to war with South Korea or North Korea. So there is a chance, there is a possibility one of these data centers or the zone might completely go down. So to maintain your available application, to make it available all the time, so that's the rule Amazon has come up with. So to maintain a physical distance between the data centers and the zones. Okay, so you might ask, like, how do I decide where to host my application or where to host my data? So let me show you something before going into that. So this image shows you the AWS regions and availability zones. So as I said earlier, a region should have at least 2 or more zones. So if you look at this diagram, EU has got, Ireland has got 3 zones, whereas US East, Northern Virginia has got 4 zones. But if you look at Singapore, it has got 2 zones. Right? But for something to be called as an AWS region, it should have at least 2 zones in it, right? And each zone should have at least 2 or more data centers, right? So as it says here, it's the customer who decides where the application and data resides in any of these zones or regions. All AWS does is it provides you an infrastructure with certain level of SLAs, like if something goes down, what they'll do, right? But it's your decision to decide where your application and data resides. So you might ask, how do I decide? How do I know where my application should reside? So it's your business requirement. Let me give you an example. Let's say India a couple of years ago has come up with a rule, like all the financial companies which operate in India has to store the data in India, right? So let's say Visa and MasterCard are US companies. Before this rule, every financial transaction made in India has to be routed through US servers. But after this rule, it's not legally allowed, right? So what Visa and MasterCard should do? So they should have their servers, or they should have their databases, whatever. They should have them within India, like physically located within India. So that's their business requirement. Let's take Netflix. If you take Netflix, it's been used across the world, right? So let's say they have their servers only in US and you are catering across the world, it doesn't work out, right? So for everyone to stream high quality content without any buffer, they should have their servers, as many as possible, across the world. They should have at least one in each region, one in each zone. Like they might have multiple in the Europe itself, right? So it depends on your business requirements where to host your application and data in which zone or a region, right? And the other question most of the people might ask is, what happens when a zone goes down or when the data center goes down? Again, it's like the AWS will provide you the technology and tools to manage these physical infrastructure. Like if something goes down, the other zone might come up. So you need to use different set of tools to manage this, to make sure your application is available all the time to all the customers, right? So all AWS does is provides you the infrastructure to do that. And it does provide some set of tools. You can use those tools or any other third-party tools to manage these zones to make your application available all the time, right? So you might ask, like, if my application is hosted in like 4 zones in 3 regions, what happens if all of them go down? It might happen as well. So for that reason, most of the financial companies, what they do is, even though they have multiple data centers, multiple backups, at the end of the day, what they do is they take physical backup of everything they have at the end of the day or a week or a month. They take physical backup into the disks, hard disks, and store them in a safe location. Right, so if something happens, if one of the data centers is gone down due to a natural calamity or a technical glitch, so they might be in another data center, right? So which caters the customers. So you might think, what happens if it goes down as well? If the another zone goes down as well? So in such scenario, like for business critical functions like the financial transactions, the trading, whatever. So what those guys do is they will have a cycle like once in a week or once in a month, so they take physical backup of the entire data onto the disks, hard disks, and store it in a safe location. So you might ask, like, what happens if that physical data is lost as well? Then you can't do anything, right? So that's how it works.